I'm focused on his spirit cause it keeps me from his fire. The Holy Ghost is with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie.
Hello, this is Christina Barr. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about the Trump administration had a text chain on the app Signal, and they were discussing some, specifically the attack on the Houthis, and a reporter got invited in the chat somehow, and so that's been the talk of the town for a little bit since that story broke. And it's just really incredible. Out of all the journalists that this happened to, who works for any kind of papers, I'm like, the Atlantic. So it's kind of incredible. But beyond that, I also want to talk about Representative Crockett, Jasmine Crockett, and some comments she made about Governor Abbott, which is really disrespectful. And I'm just, I find it embarrassing how much of a ghetto hot mess she is. And a lot of people are like, oh, she's putting on an act. I don't even understand the purpose of putting on that sort of act. Is it just for clicks and some fame online for a time? I would want to be a serious person. Well, I guess it's always how you kind of want to be, but like you want people to respect you, take you seriously, and do your job respectfully. And she's just not ticking off any of those boxes. And also, Snow White is not doing well at the box office. I don't know if word of mouth can fix it, because from all the word of mouth I hear, it's not great. But I want to play a video from some time ago. It's from before the election of Rachel Zegler, saying, basically, if you don't support abortion, you can unfollow her and she doesn't need your money. So just a little other new dash of chaos I'd like to throw into the Disney fail mix. So anyway, before I jump into everything, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktunes.com, check out different content on the website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do, please consider leaving a donation on the website, because it does cost a streamer, run my site, all that good stuff you guys can support. I very much do appreciate you guys. I thank you to those of you who watch live, and to those of you who watch back later. On Facebook or YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, you guys can send stars. And watching on YouTube, you guys can do super chats. I know sometimes you guys come in and communicate with each other. If you're on, you guys can't see each other across the different platforms. I can see all your comments. So thank you again to those of you who watch. You guys can also support by going to the website and checking out different merch that's available on the website. So you guys can check out some of that stuff, different t-shirts. And speaking of t-shirts, I have this pro-choice men are sus t-shirt that I sell at the website. And so Harry Sisson, oh boy. So we've been talking about him for a minute, because he's a huge Democrat influencer, has millions of followers on TikTok, and he got into some trouble because he's like, oh, I'm a male feminist. I love women. We got to protect women. I stand for women. Donald Trump is trash because he doesn't respect women and doesn't support women's right to choose, and blah 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 blah. And come to find out, he was seeing a bunch of different girls and asking for, nudes and, different sensitive pics, and some of them sent them to him. He's hooking up with other girls, while claiming to some of them that he doesn't have a roster of women. And then when women started to speak out, he said that they were crazy. So he's been getting reamed a lot online. And then it came out that something more serious was happening, where he was working for someone who may have been grooming and inappropriately reaching out to young boys. So that story is like ongoing. Um, you know, but something that I saw today was interesting, that I'm going to share, since showed that pro-choice men are sus. Um, shirt, because I think that a lot of time, a lot of these guys who are pro-choice are sus. They're suspect. They have um shady reasons for, supporting it. I'm not saying all of them do, though it's an evil thing, but some people haven't thought that deeply about it. But there's ulterior motives. So I'm also of the opinion that you shouldn't trust a male feminist either. But his pinned tweet is America failed women tonight. This is after the election. Trump bullied, assaulted, and stripped reproductive rights away from women all across the country. And instead of standing against it, many voted for it. So that's his pinned tweet on his profile. And unless he just changed it in the last, I don't know, day or so, but that's been his pinned tweet. And so a lot of women obviously voted for Donald Trump. He doesn't have evidence really of the assaults. I know they'll say E. Jean Carroll, and he was, um, found liable for sexual assaults, and they have this really technical way of how they'll talk about the case. Because if you say that the jury found that he raped E. Jean Carroll, then you'll lose a lawsuit like George Stephanopoulos, because the jury actually did not find that to be the case. But what's interesting about that is that Donald Trump was like, "No, she's crazy. I didn't do anything to her. Like, she's a nut job." And that's what he's like got sued for defamation for. So, they had to prove that that he defamed her or whatever, but the jury is like, "No, your claim of rape, we don't believe that." But they did at least say that they believed that about the sexual assault claim. Now, it wasn't a criminal charge. He wasn't, obviously thrown in jail or anything like that. It's a civil lawsuit. And so basically he's in trouble for denying what the woman said and saying that she was crazy. Harry was going around saying that these women were lunatics for calling him out for things that were true about how he treats women and dates them or whatever. And some of the things, I'm like, he's a jerk for sure. The tie to the alleged pedophile is obviously serious, but him chatting up girls who slid into his DMs, and him lying and saying there's no other girls, that's not the worst thing in the world. But he is a creep, and it's really bad for his brand, because he claims to be, for the women, and that's what he's been harping on. Again, this is his pin tweet, and has been his pin tweet since the election. And he also mentioned, reproductive rights, which Donald Trump just appointed different justices who kicked it back to the states. I wish they had just, abolished it or whatever, and addressed whether the preborn are entitled to equal protection or whatever. But they kicked it back to the states, so the states get to decide, states get to choose. And Donald Trump is way more pro-choice than I would like, but that's the thing that they were harping on. That's the thing that they still harp on. And by the way, everything that Harry has said and done with these girls, and lying to them about having a roster or whatever, none of that is worse than actually supporting the innocent children in the womb being suffocated, starved, torn apart, poisoned. Like all those things are worse. All those things are worse. So he's a professional liar anyway. He's a paid propagandist, and he supports doing evil things to the most innocent and vulnerable. And he gets to stand up in front of everybody and pat himself on the back and say, "Women respect me." But this is what's really crazy to me, and this is why I brought this up today. Because he's been silent about his life as all the stuff has just been exploding. And so he decided to tweet out, "MAGA is mad that I have game, LOL." MAGA is mad that I have game, LOL. By the way, there's a lot of MAGA people that were just like, at first when this stuff came out, was like, I don't like this kid. I don't think we should like try to me too him. And I didn't even like the calling the girls victims, because that automatically makes you think of, you know, some kind of crime, I think, going on. I mean, maybe not necessarily all the time, but he was chatting with some of these girls, and they were dumb enough to send him some stuff, and I'm like, you shouldn't have done that, and you trusted a liar. And one girl was like, "Oh, I'm glad, you know, I found out who he was before we actually met in person." I'm like, God, some of these broads you ain't even sleep with. So there's a lot of people who are like, this is being kind of stretched out. Now, I think that was before all the groomer stuff came out, and that's still being explored, investigated, or whatever. But there's a lot of people on the left, including the broads that he texted, who are upset about him having game. I'm more baffled by the fact that he has game. I don't even know if it's game. It's just, maybe it's just brain rot. Like, could Harry get like a normal girl who doesn't have brain rot, who isn't just totally brainwashed by the Democratic left? Like, maybe there's something wrong with those brains. It's just so strange to me. Like, I was telling my younger sister about it, and she's like, "What does this kid even look like?" And she's like, "Is he like really cute or something?" And I'm like, "No." I'm like, he's not ugly or anything like that, but I'm like, I don't understand. And I showed her the picture, and she's just like, "Oh no." you know I'm like, he's not an ugly kid. There's some creepy about him. I don't know. But yeah, Kit Kat said, "I honestly thought he was gay." That's like the number one, I think, kind of joke, or not even joke, for MAGA. Because when he made his thirst trap video, people are like, "Bro, he did a video where he was sitting on a bed, and there was like a finger like touching his lips or whatever, and he was like mouthing some music or whatever." And so many people were like, "Oh, that's Dylan Mulvaney. Oh, that's, this trans person, that trans person." Alleging that he's not even, straight. So we're not mad this kid has game. We're baffled. But he did delete it. he did delete that post. And I don't understand it. I don't understand I don't understand it at all, because I think it was written under his written under a post from Sarah Fields, and that he replied to her, and he said, "MAGA is mad that I have game." And Sarah Fields has been the one who's been reporting and breaking out these stories and talking to the victims. And her Sarah is censored is her X account. If you guys want to go follow her, it might be the same on TikTok. But I don't know. I'm sure, like she said, his lawyer is probably notified, and that's probably why it's deleted. I would imagine if he has a lawyer, and the kid has a lot of money and connections or whatever, he probably like started pulling his hair out, that out of everything that's been said. That's why why he decided to respond and how he decided to respond. It's amazing. No, I'm not mad the kid has game. I don't know. I just don't know what game we're playing. I don't know what game this is. I don't know the rules. I don't understand the concept. I don't understand what you win. That's what's going on here. That's what's going on here. So anyway, that segment was brought to you by the Pro Choice Men Are Sus t-shirt, available at blacktnews.com. Anyway, that was not on my main kind of purview of things I even wanted to address, but let's talk about this leak here. So there was a thread from the Trump administration. A lot of people were on it. Pete Hegseth and Tulsi Gabbard and JD Vance. Trump was not on it. So somehow Mike Walls, who's the national security advisor, ended up connecting and inviting a journalist from The Atlantic onto the thread. And they were talking about an imminent attack on the Houthis. Now, according to the White House, there wasn't anything like crazy super sensitive that was mentioned in the chat on Signal. I've never used Signal myself, but a lot of people go and use Signal to talk about sensitive stuff because it is encrypted and it's supposed to be like, I don't know, something that you can't like hack or something. In the midst of their conversations, there were things that they brought up that they needed to maybe talk in a more secure line. So there's some embellishments that may be going on with Goldberg and what was said in the chats and stuff. I don't know if he'll print everything, and I don't know if the White House will post everything that was in the chat to, debunk him or debunk them. I don't know how long they want the story to go on. I mean, it's an embarrassing thing. So they probably don't want the story to go on too long anyway. So if they're willing to leave it as is, they're willing to kind of leave it as is. But maybe this is going to sound bad, but I might be the only one who thinks the story is kind of funny because it is kind of so amazing in a bad way, that out of all the people, well, first of all, the fact that it happened is crazy, that you'd be talking about like an attack that's going to happen with the Houthis. I mean, with the us attacking the Houthis and stuff. Didn't happen yet, which Goldberg waited, to see if the things that they were talking about was going to pan out. He didn't like break the news before the attack or whatever. So I guess good on him. But it's incredible in a bad way that he got tagged on this text chain. And according to Walls, he didn't have a relationship or whatever with him before. So I don't know exactly how he got that invite and got on that thread, that chat. But out of all the people, when you think of papers that did like astronomical damage to Donald Trump, like you could throw out names. You could say New York Times, you could say Washington Post, you could say, but those aren't the winners. We talked about how bad CBS was during the election. It's not CBS. It's not CNN. It's not MSNBC. Like all those groups, they play a part in different things that they put out there. But the worst, who like did like tremendous damage, is I guess you could debate about the worst, but the Atlantic and their losers and sucker story. The losers and sucker story, which I went in and I debunked, and people went on the record and like refuted it immediately, I looked into it and I'm like, these things aren't making sense. There's official records that don't make sense with the story. And you could look at Bolton's book, and, General Kelly came out, against Trump later in this last election cycle, and that kind of revamped that story. And I'm like, okay, well, now we know that he was like referenced a bit. This story really doesn't make sense, and I start going through um in the room where it happened, which was Bolton's book, because he wrote about that day. And the story really didn't make sense. So I wrote another article about how the Atlantic's hit piece on Trump really, really didn't make any sense. But so many people held on to it and referenced it and so on. So it was a terrible story for Trump. And during the 2020 reelection, I remember Scott Adams, who talks a lot about hypnotism and persuasion, the power of persuasion, things that you say. Like he pegged that Trump was going to win in 2016, like right off the bat, because he has just such a natural talent for persuasion. And so he thought he was going to win. But there's a one person, I can't think of their name, who's really, really good at um I have this book, I didn't read it yet. It's called Persuasion. About how to persuade people, whatever. And I guess he gets involved in politics sometimes. He kind of even questioned if he was working at all behind the scenes, if he had got involved, because attacking Trump head on with one of his at one of his greatest strengths, which is, his love of the military, and putting out that losers and sucker story, was just a terrible shot to the heart, and really screwed with his election chances, I think, in 2020. So the fact that Goldberg got on this chain, it's terrible. Like, it's not funny in a ha-ha way. It's just funny in a, I don't know, dark black humor kind of way. Like macabre. Like, I guess you gotta laugh because it's so awful, so terrible. So it's just a sick kind of laugh, I guess, a sick kind of funny for me, because out of all the people in the world, out of all the papers, it's Goldberg, man, from the Atlantic. So Trump was initially asked about it and claimed he didn't know anything about it. And since then, he's, said that his national security advisor won't be fired. And I can go through that article really quick. So let me play his initial. I don't know what you're talking about. He probably didn't know what they were talking about, because he wasn't actually in the chain himself. So this might have been like news to him. This was yesterday. So I think the story came out yesterday. So he might have, or it might have been so fresh that he didn't have a good response at that point. So he's maybe still playing dumb, but he might not have known.
Your reaction to the story in the Atlantic that said that some of your top cabinet officials and aides have been discussing very sensitive material through Signal and included an Atlantic report for that. What is your response to that?
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of the Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had what?
They were using Signal to coordinate on sensitive materials and
having to do with what? Having to do with what? What were they talking about?
With the Houthis.
The Houthis? You mean the attack on the Houthis? Well, it couldn't have been very effective, because the attack was very effective. I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it. You're telling me about it for the first time. Anybody else?
Your reaction.
Does Trump say that often? Like, you're telling me now that for the first time. I mean, I don't know how many times people tell him things for the first time, but I remember, and I've seen this clip a lot, when Ginsburg died, and he's like, "You're telling me that for the first time," and that's like a iconic moment, iconic sort of meme or gif or whatever. So when he said that, I just brought that immediately to my mind. But anyway, he maybe didn't know at that point what was said in the chat. I can only imagine maybe the internal rage Like, what the heck? Like, how did that happen? Like, out of all the people, you guys are discussing an imminent attack, and there's a reporter on the line. So, he said he's not going to apparently fire Walls. So Fox News was reporting that story. They said President Trump is not planning to fire National Security Advisor Mike Walls in the wake of the Atlantic's reporting of an apparent national security breach. Fox News has learned he's not getting fired. Trump told Fox News the president said the incident was a mistake, though there was nothing important in the signal text thread. The president described Walls as a good guy and added that the attack was a success, referring to the U.S. operation against the Houthis in Yemen, were that was discussed on the text chain between senior cabinet officials. The source close to the president previously told Fox News that Walls' job is safe and that he is not on the chopping block. And Trump is very good about being loyal to people who are loyal to him, but you got to be loyal to him. But that can backfire for people, but you know, he is big on loyalty. So I don't know how much this was a consideration, but if he did fire Walls, I think that would also make the story bigger than what they probably wanted to be too. So it's, I don't know, maybe in their minds it's best to just kind of be like, there was nothing important there. That's a big deal. You want to talk about the text chain? Yeah, we got them Houthis. We got them good. Like, just they want to shift the direction and the focus. I mean, this wasn't a great thing. It was, you know, not competent. There's a lot of people who are trying to shift it to Pete Hegseth and go after him when it was Walls who got Goldberg on the chain. So people are trying to direct it and shift it. I've seen people say that what they did was illegal. I've heard people say that all of them should be fired. No, that's a lot of senior officials who's gonna be, you know, kicked off. They're not gonna do that. So yeah, I think it may, if Trump needed to fire somebody, the benefit of Trump is that he likes to fire people, and he will fire people. I was thinking about this earlier before I read this report about them not firing him. And if there's Democrats, especially any of people tied to the Biden administration at all, saying that all these people need to be fired, they can just shut all the way up, because the Biden administration did not fire folks for Afghanistan, and no one really paid at all. I've heard stories of people in the military like kind of disobeying orders a little bit that saved lives, and they were still reprimanded for the actions that they took. Like, I heard someone was like messing with a radio in a way that they weren't supposed to. Like, that's usually how they're supposed to use it, but they needed to do it to save the people, like to get people on the ground to save the troops or whatever. So he saved lives, but they're like, okay, but you still got to be punished for what you did. And so, and then a lot of people were trying to help him like through his punishment, because they're like, hey, you saved our life. But there's just people on lower chains who get all these kind of punishments for stuff, and you leave Afghanistan in such a terrible manner that ends the life of our troops, and they bombed that aid worker and them kids, and then was like, oh, the strike was true, there was secondary explosions, and just lied about stuff as if someone wasn't going to investigate that, you know. And so if those folks are coming at Trump for like accountability and stuff, like there should be accountability, and we should always call for it. But you got some nerve. You got some nerve. You can't always. It's not fair for people just to call for accountability and the right thing when it's the other folks and not you. Like, if there was consistent standards, that would be great. Now I can call for consistent standards because I've been trashing people on all sides. Okay. I try to be pretty consistent here. So I don't want to hear them open their big fat mouths about this stuff. There's people talking about Hillary Clinton and butter emails and stuff. Okay, but she had a private server to be shady. Like, and Comey said that, yeah, there's foreign actors who probably got into her stuff. Comey, if you go back and watch that press conference, I remember the day when he was doing his press conference for Hillary Clinton and he was just laying out the case and all the things she was doing. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's about to say she going to jail. And then at the end of it, he's like, yeah, but it's just gross negligence. So I'm like, are you kidding me? And then CNN was talking about different things that they were doing, like destroying stuff with hammers, and they're like, hammer, wait, hold on, fact check on the fly, like hammers. And they're like, yeah, they were destroying devices that way. And so you know, it was just it was crazy. So like, if you were defending Hillary up and down with her emails, if you were defending Biden for not firing nobody, like this text chain, apparently there wasn't anything classified on it. Maybe there was, maybe there wasn't. The White House claims there's not. It would be kind of silly to lie about it, knowing that Goldberg has stuff. You know, he was on the chat. He's probably got other screenshots or whatever. But they claim the stuff's not that important that was on there. So Trump is not going to fire Walls. If he needed to, I think he would, if he needed maybe to do that scout, but he does tend to be a loyal guy. But I do know, and we know from the first administration, if Trump believes he needs to fire somebody, he will fire somebody. That is something that is different. There's some people in Trump's cabinet that I'm not fond of. Actually, they appointed someone to the CDC or whatever, I think today. I saw that news, and it was somebody who was like an Obama appointee, or like worked for the Biden and Obama. Yeah, Trump. Let's see this report. Trump has picked Susan Moranes over Florida Surgeon General Dr. Ladepo for CDC director. She worked for Biden as a deputy director of Advanced Research Projects Agency for Health from 2023 to 2025. And she worked in the Obama White House, enrolled in shaping national health security plans. So, you know, maybe that's a bad thing, good thing, or whatever, but you know, a lot of these folks in the Biden administration were nuts. So, you know, but he's got some picks that I don't love, but I'm like, okay, well, at least if they actually don't do a good job, he will fire them. He will eventually fire them. So they said his job is good. Let me see if there's anything else interesting in this article I want to point out. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt released a new statement on Tuesday. The National Security Council earlier said that Atlantic's report referenced what appeared to be an authentic message chain. Jeffrey Goldberg is well known for his sensationalist spin, Leavitt wrote, before offering 3 facts about the latest story. Leavitt said no war plans were discussed, no classified material was sent to the thread, and that the White House counsel's office has provided guidance on a number of different platforms for the president's top officials to communicate as safely and efficiently as possible. As the National Security Council stated, the White House is looking into how Goldberg's number was inadvertently added to the thread. Leavitt said, thanks to the strong and decisive leadership of President Trump and everyone in the group, the Houthi strikes were successful and effective. Terrorists were killed, and that's what matters the most to President Trump. A senior White House official earlier revealed Fox News how Goldberg may have been added to the Signal text chain with cabinet members. The official said that he had never met and had never spoken to Goldberg. Somehow Goldberg's number was added to one of the members on the list. The senior official said nothing that Signal is allowed in multiple agencies. It appears that Goldberg's number was added to a contact card by one of Trump administrative staffers. Fox News has learned the chat had cabinet officials plus some of those officials' staffers. I, that's crazy. But I don't know. Maybe somebody set them up. Democrats on the House Armed Service Committees are calling for Walz's ouster over the breach. This is an outrageous national security breach, and heads should roll. We need a full investigation into hearing into this in the House Armed Service Committee ASAP. Uh, Rep. Chris Deluzio from Pennsylvania wrote, "We can't chalk it up to simple mistake. People should be fired for this." Reps Sarah Jacobs from California told Axios. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth blasted the Atlantic article, telling reporters Monday that nobody was texting war plans. Hegseth billed Goldberg as a deceitful and highly discredited journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes time and time again. That's true. I did hear Hegseth's response, and I thought it was too much like heat and finger pointing. No, what he's saying about Goldberg is like it's true, I guess, but you guys did mess up. Like you guys messed up. Like somehow someone messed up or someone was set up or whatever, but it's take the L. Sometimes you guys got to take the L, but at least you killed the terrorist or whatever, which by the way, an interesting thing that's also being discussed is that Vice President JD Vance was on the thread and he didn't love the attack apparently, and he referred to it as bailing out Europe again, and he had said something about like, oh, we want to make sure that look at the prices of oil and it's not going to make it go up and stuff, but the Saudis, they don't like the Houthis either, so taking out the Houthis who are messing up supply chains, I think is a good thing and something that the Biden administration should have did. So people are just pointing out that JD seems to be way more isolationist than Trump is, which I isn't unknown. Like, he let his opinions be known prior. So but he said he's willing to go along with everybody else, but he just did voice his opinion, which was kind of a differing sort of, ideology than I guess a lot of other folks. But he, as long as he knows he serves, I guess you can't really just fire the vice president. I was gonna say serves at the pleasure of the president. Excuse me. He knows his place. He's the vice president. Trump, his agenda is what matters and gets pushed forward, and he's the one who has the final say on foreign policy. So just a lot of interesting things going on, but I don't know. I'm just a little tickled. It's just a really unbelievable story to me. But I know people leak stuff all the time. Trump had leakers in his first admin. People allegedly claim it was Kellyanne Conway, but I don't know. And other folks, I'm sure. But they were leakers. But this is not great. Not great. But hopefully it blows over, and they figure out ways to not let that happen again. Hopefully they just don't let this happen again. Okay, moving on. I want to address Miss Crockett. Miss Crockett, crazy little Crockett. So she's been making the rounds and saying all kinds of crazy stuff, but there's a particular segment that someone said, can I quickly repeat it? What the last segment? You can go back and watch it if you're watching live. You can just move the the cursor back. But to sum it up, there was a text chain that a journalist, Jeffrey Goldberg from The Atlantic, ended up being on while there was people from the Trump administration discussing the attack that happened on the Houthis. So Trump claims and the White House claims there wasn't anything like super sensitive in that thread. So he's not going to get rid of the national security advisor whose fault apparently it was that Goldberg ended up on the chain. And that's it. I mean, the attack was successful. Goldberg didn't he waited to write about it until after it happened. So I guess good on him. But out of all the people in the world who could end up on that chain, it's just, amazing that it's Goldberg, amazing that it's the Atlantic, because the Atlantic, that's where losers and suckers, that story happened. So, yeah, so that's the summary. That's a summary. But if you ever come in late, you guys can go back and watch it from the beginning, so you don't have to just jump in the middle and be like, what is going on? Anyway, let's watch this clip of Miss Crockett that's making the rounds. So she's makes a comment about Governor Greg Abbott, who's in a wheelchair, but paralyzed from the age of 26. And she calls him Hot Wheels.
And because we in these hot ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot ass mess, honey. So yes. And
so that's it. I think little Miss Crockett, she went off one day about the she could never Marjorie Taylor Greene can never be her, or something like blah 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 blah. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, she was when she first came into Congress, she was very gimmicky. I think she's become more serious over the years or whatever, wanted to be more of a team player, make strategic sort of goals, and isn't quite as loud about some things. And Miss Crockett is like a very unserious caricature. Like if Marjorie Taylor Greene, when she was first came into Congress, fresh into it, was dipped in a hot bucket of ghetto trash, I think that's what Miss Crockett would be. But people say that that she's putting on an act, and I've seen in interviews where she wasn't appealing to this ghetto persona. Now some people are like, it's just code switching. That's what you have to do to survive, and that's just what people do. Sometimes it just happens, to be frank. You get a little hype, and if I get a little hype, sometimes my sister's like, "Oh, that's LaToya coming out." LaToya is my middle name. I don't know why it's LaToya. My parents just liked it, but that's what the L stands for. But so sometimes you get a little hype, and there's a little bit of something that comes out. I don't think that's maybe the case with Miss Crockett here. But if it is an act, I don't understand it, because I just would not want to be known that way. There's a lot of Black women out there, professional Black women, who've worked very hard to get where they are. And then there's someone like her who's just ghetto hot trash, and is presenting herself as such. What you talking about? The governor, the man in the wheelchair? Ma'am, what the heck? What the heck? And child, it's just a lot. I wouldn't want to be known this way, responded to in this way, beyond the words that she said to him, just like her whole persona, that's not how I would want people to know me. And maybe she's like, oh, they're asking me to come on TV. Oh, they're asking me to speak here. Oh, people are coming in my social media feed. Oh, I'm getting some traction on C-SPAN when they play my stuff and I argue with the different Congress people, which it's just embarrassing. Like, maybe it's good entertainment sometimes, but we don't want like stuff to necessarily be the Real Housewives when we're watching stuff go down in the Congress. Maybe that's where you need to be, hon. Maybe that's where you want to be. Maybe that's where you're aiming for. Maybe you want to be on, Lifetime or Hulu or Wheat TV or VH1 or something, a Netflix special. I don't know. But I just when Fonnie Willis got busted, she did the case, the RICO case against Trump in Atlanta, where he had to take his mugshot and all that stuff. I was worried about that case because I'm like, even if like all this legal stuff doesn't hold together, the fact that they were going to televise it in the midst of like when the election was happening, there was just going to be some behaviors and things that came out that was going to be amplified in the news. I just didn't think was going to make Trump look great and was going to really hinder his reelection and hinder maybe everyone on the ticket. So all that fell apart because, and apparently the Trump folks knew it kind of early, and that was going to be their their plan of attack, that she was having, relations with one of her subordinates, and all that really blew it up. And I was talking to my sister, and she was talking about her lawyer friends from both sides of the aisle who were just really disappointed in the fact that this was a woman who worked hard, who, well, maybe worked hard, but she got up there in her career, biggest, thing in her life, and her kuka couldn't keep it classy, and it just ruined everything and blew a really good chance to obstruct Trump's election victory, man. All because she couldn't keep her cuckoo or kuka classy. Maybe you've never seen that season of America's Next Top Model. I think it was maybe, I don't know if it was season 2 or season 3, but I can't even remember the girl's name. But there was a black girl on the show who they eliminated her, and this blonde girl allegedly was eliminating them both at the same. I think it was Tiffany. I think her name was Tiffany, and so they were eliminating them both, and they made it seem like they were going to anyway. And then the black girl Tiffany was just like, yeah, okay, it's whatever. And she was like hugging people like it wasn't a big deal. And then they're like, come back here. And so she noted that the white girl was crying because her dream was crushed. And the black girl was just like, I guess to them made it seem like it was a joke. I think obviously she just kind of had a wall that she had put up from a lot of disappointments in life or whatever, and didn't want to be crying and stuff on TV. And Tyra actually showed her that they did have her picture and that they did want to keep her, but it was a test to see like how she would react. And then Tyra starts going off and she says, we were rooting for you. How dare you? And Tyra had like, I think reddish hair. I'm sure if you've been on the internet, you've probably seen the meme or GIF around. Even if you haven't seen that episode, I was watching Top Model back in the day at that time, so I saw that live. And that's kind of what it's like, I think, with these some of these black professionals. It's like, ma'am, just go up there and represent and be good at your job, be competent at your job, and get praise because you're doing good things. you know, but don't just go up there and be loud to be on TV. Don't just be loud and obnoxious just to get some clicks and views. And I understand that's just a game for a lot of these folks, you know. And I just hate it. Like Kamala Harris and Cory Booker would just be ignorant. Not like loud ghetto ignorant, but just say like the dumbest virtue signal nonsense. Like when Kamala Harris, you know, said that compared ICE to the KKK. I'm sorry. Yeah, it was ICE to the KKK. You know, dumb stuff like that. And that's on camera. If she ever wants to pursue some higher office in a more serious manner, guess what? We're gonna have the video where she referred to Abbott as Governor Hot Wheels and talked about how he's just a hot mess. That'll always be there. And other comments, how she went off and argued with Marjorie Taylor Greene, all those things will still be there. So on the day she can get her accolades or whatever, but there's still gonna be a treasure trove of stuff. Like AOC, she's getting some big traction. Bernie Sanders is going around on a tour with her, and he's obviously gonna be too old to run for president, but he's, you know, running kind of against Trump, but also against his party. And so, you know, he'll maybe tap AOC and she's I don't know what their 2028 is gonna look like at all, but she obviously has goals for higher office in some kind of capacity and is trying not to be as crazy as maybe she was in the past. And people are like, oh, she's evolving. You know, you can evolve, but we still have a lot of different things that you said that were just really ignorant and stupid. Like there's some really genuinely stupid things that she said that's on tape, but there's some like egregiously immoral things that she has said as well. Like I've got some stuff that was just like flat out religious bigotry kind of stuff that she said, you know, on my computer queued up for a one day when we need a 50 reasons why not to vote for AOC video that I can drop, you know. But just protect your integrity more than this. You know, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Like maybe you should be a real housewife, but congresswoman doing that stuff, nah, I don't think so. Anyway, last thing I want to alert you guys about is Disney Snow White is not doing well. And I want to show you guys a video of Rachel Zegler. It was like right around the election. So she wasn't telling people, I think, specifically to not see Snow White. But if you're ever like, oh, that sucks about the movie not doing well, I want you to remember this video from Rachel Zegler. So someone was like, she's a walking L. I don't know if she put the Shrek here or someone else put the Shrek here. Someone else probably put the Shrek here, but let's go ahead and listen what she has to say.
Vote for Kamala Harris. And it's actually non-negotiable. Our rights are on the line, folks. Our reproductive rights. Come on. Go vote blue. And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business. Thanks. Vote.
So she could have ended it like halfway. Like, it's important. Reproductive rights. Go vote. And then it was like cut off anyway. So that's where she stopped recording at one point. And then she hit the record button again. It was like, by the way, you can go ahead and follow me if you don't like what I'm saying. And then she added something else, which I think is key here. And it's like, I don't need your business or want your business. Let's listen again so we're just clear.
Just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business.
I don't need your business. What a heck of a thing for an actress to say. What a heck of a thing for an actress to say. Now, it's it's selfish to say things like that. I mean, she's a very talented girl. She can apparent she can sing. She's a decent actress, and she, I guess, can dance. I don't think I've seen anything with her dancing. I didn't see the remake of the movie that she was in when she was singing in like the Shark and the Jets, West Side Story. I didn't see West Side Story. I didn't see the Hunger Games, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I saw all the other ones. I just didn't get around to it. I heard the new book is really good. Sunrise on the Reaping, about Haymitch. People are saying that book's really good. People are saying it's the best one in the series. I've never read Hunger Games before, but there's things in the book, like I've seen TikToks people talking about it, that make me kind of interested in actually going and reading it. It sounds like Suzanne Collins, is actually a really good writer. So I don't know. I might if I ever have time, and I rarely do, maybe I'll go ahead and just read them if I can ever squeeze out some spare time. But I saw her in Shazam 2, which didn't do great. I liked it more than most people, but I'm not surprised it didn't do well. What else was she in that I saw? I don't know. I'm sure maybe there's something, but she's in the Snow White film. We've been talking about it for like years. There's been delays and reshoots and the strike and whatnot. And there's a lot of money that was spent on it. She has co-stars. There's people who work behind the scenes on the film who depend on the film doing well. There's a studio that depends on the film doing well. Now, there's lots of things that are wrong with the film, the writing, and people are talking about Gal Gadot's acting, but just kind of sounds like we went over Disney's different decisions that they made with the CGI dwarves, and just the bad press. That is her fault, though. The weird talking about she doesn't need a prince, but those are things that they interjected into the script, into the story, that she was reiterating, and they were dissing the original, that made people upset. But that's a take that Disney decided to make. So a lot of the failures are on Disney with this film not doing well, but she plays her role. She plays her role, and being political online, you have your own platform. Like back in the day, studios were very like tight-lipped about what different celebrities could say, not say. And of course, we didn't have social media like we do now, so they could be controlled more. But she can go on her platform and say what she wants to say. But when you start getting rude with the people who give you money, that's stupid. And it's not like she's at home and what she does is, like, I don't know, make perfume bottles and sells them on an Etsy shop. She's like a lead actress and stuff. And there's a lot of mouths that need to be fed. And she dares to say stuff like, I don't need your business. I don't need your business. As if she built something from the ground up. And if she fails, it's only on her. And she's the only one affected. That she's selfish. She's so selfish. When I was working on my sister's campaign when she ran for chair of the Michigan Republican Party against Laura Cox, who was a former state rep, and she was the wife of the former Attorney General, Mike Cox, who might run for governor. Everybody's like trying to run for governor. Excuse me, but she tried to run for Senate and she lost that seat, and then she went ahead and tried to run for chair, and she was like the pick. And I mean, like, there was arrangements made where people who were going to run dropped out, people endorsed her or whatever, and she had Brad Parscale's endorsement, not Trump's, but he was his campaign manager at the time. So they're like, this is a person who Trump wants, and it was a fight we had to have. So at the time, there were things that we could have blasted her on, particularly some ways that she voted. But there are other Republicans that voted in a similar way. And if we drew like a lot of attention to her on certain things, and my sister did win the chair, those things that we put on blast would still be out there for other Republicans. And you could say like, well, if they need to be put on blast, you just put them on blast. The goal of the chair is to elect Republicans. So we were thinking ahead as if she had already gotten the job and what would be best for the team. Not just best to win at any cost, but what would be best in the long run for the team. So when it's a team sport, you have to, and the success of the team is what's important. You don't just say stuff and do whatever the heck that you want to as if you're the only person who matters. So she needs to stop. And these companies need to look at these celebrities' social media. Now, maybe they don't care as much when the people are left wing. And there's a lot of people who support abortion. There's a lot of people who don't, obviously, and I don't. There's a lot of people who like half the country, maybe a little more than half the country. So she's a safe company saying what she's saying. But to then be like, I don't need your business. You need the business, ma'am. You need the business. So someone says she's a walking PR nightmare. She absolutely is. She absolutely is. So I don't think that particular video is maybe why it's failing. I mean, she had some choice words after the election about Trump supporters, and she had to come out and apologize. So that was a bigger deal. I just saw that video today. But Snow White's not doing well. It opened domestically with like 43 million and has like a 80 global box office of 87 million for the opening weekend. That's not great. The audience, the critic score on Rotten Tomatoes was 44% with the critics. The audience score gave it higher with 74%. I don't know. You got to be pretty dedicated to maybe go out there and go see it. I know people who've gone to hate watch it to analyze it for clicks or whatever. I've thought about it maybe like, cause I don't know, when I do a video on TikTok about Rachel Zegler, it tends to do, I'm like, why do y'all like hearing about me talking about this girl? I talk about so many things, but when I talk about this girl, people like flock. You know, there's one video I did during the strike, and that got a ton of hits. Someone from Timcast reached out to me. I did not look at my Instagram messages, so I kind of dropped the ball on that one. But I got like 1 million views on that, and people are still watching it because I guess it's Snow White. She's relevant. People still commenting and seeing that video pop up in their feeds. So I don't know. People like to talk about this girl. TikTok likes when we talk about this girl, I guess. But it's not doing well for a lot of reasons, and a lot of it is Disney's disgust with the past, with sort of traditional values and morality in the world. I was watching someone's review of it, and they were talking about basically how the fairest of them all isn't about beauty, it's about literally being fair, because I guess it's like communism is the message, like communism good, like everyone communal stuff, you know, versus I guess Gal Gadot is what actual communism is, where they will just take your crap and but there's lots of leftist sort of ideas like and then there's like that, I can save myself, and I remember Rachel talking about the she's not be saved by Prince, and seemed disgusted by that idea, and I'm like, the original story of Snow White like Peter Dinklage was so like, oh, this is so ignorant and messed up that they were still making movies with the dwarves and all this time. And I've seen dwarves like protest the movie because they didn't hire real dwarf actors and they did the CGI stuff. But they were the heroes of the tale. Like Snow White was very kind, and she came in and she was like taking care of them and being sort of this like motherly sort of figure. But they took her. She cooked for them and she cleaned for them, but they took her in, and she imparted love into their life, and into Grumpy and all of those folks, and began to like change them. And it was a mutual beneficial relationship. And when the evil queen came and attacked her, they were like, we're about to go kill this lady. Like they were on it. So they were really the heroes of the story, not really the prince, but she had hope and optimism for one day, for love, and that's not an issue. That's a thing that so many women want and still want and need to believe in again. So they just really drop the ball. They don't respect their roots. They don't respect the people who've made Disney great. Like I've said many times, the reason why I don't and haven't really been into Disney stuff, whether it's Marvel or their cartoons or their TV shows or whatever, the reason why I haven't been into their stuff is because I feel like they resent me and my upbringing and who I am, my values, my morals, and all that stuff. They'd rather me not exist. Maybe they want my money, but they don't. But they resent me. So I'm like, okay, well, you don't need my business. And Rachel's telling me that she doesn't need our business. So I'm like, oh, I don't think I can even hate watch this stuff. Unless y'all gonna tell me I'm gonna get like 1 million views or whatever, and make a lot of money on YouTube from the review. But if you guys can guarantee me that, maybe I'll go out and see it. But I don't know. I don't think that'll probably be the case. So someone said, not Disney, Lord Iger hates the fact that he could never hold a candle to Walt. There's a lot of folks in that organization that just don't know what they're doing. They just don't know what they're doing. They don't understand what made Disney magic. They don't understand. They can't tap into it. They keep trying to I don't know, preach to people, but they don't, understand the magic of and the craft of teaching children valuable lessons in the form of a fairy tale. Like This Is Savvy, I think, said something about Rachel Zegler and said that it was ignorant for her to say the comments about it being like old fashioned, and like there's a reason why these stories are timeless. There's a reason why they're timeless, and they don't get it. They don't understand it. Because they speak a lot to the truth in our world, and that's not what they want to see. So anyway, recall when you guys think about seeing a film with Rachel Zegler and you don't have different values than her, just remember that she said that she doesn't need your business. So I guess I will. Oh, this movie's gonna take anyway. I'm like, at the same time, like it's so like unfortunate for everyone else involved. She's terrible. I wish kind of it was. I don't know. I don't wish that the movie did well. I feel like Gal Gadot has been through, I think, so much just standing up for Israel. I saw these guys reviewing the movie, and one guy was like, I stand up for Gal Gadot all the time, and Wonder Woman, the first film, was such a great, movie, and people have come for her for this movie for her political views, and they're retconning like how good Wonder Woman was because they don't like her political views. And people in the comments of that video were just saying her political views, like she worked for the IDF and she's for genocide and all this crazy stuff. No, her political views is I'm a Jew and anti-Semitism is bad. Killing our people, mass murdering them is bad. Bring home the hostages. What Hamas has done is evil. Like, this should be stuff that everyone's on the same freaking page about. Like, she served her country. A lot of people serve their country in the military. Like, what the heck? What the heck? So, I appreciate Gal standing up for herself and her people, but unfortunately she's one of the reasons why this movie's not great. People say her performance isn't great, and she's like kind of going campy or a mix of campy, and it's just not working out great. But I always thought this was a weird cast anyway. Like, she's the evil queen. Like, she ain't kind of like the Charlize Theron when she was like the evil queen in Snow White and the Huntsman. That commentary of like, what do these women have to be jealous of? Like, what? So they have to change the who's the most fair, and what is the fairest of them all, and what does that actually mean? And they're looking at the heart and not just straight up beauty or whatever. So anyway, I mean, that's why she was jealous, man. She was a vain person, and like, what? Though I did see there's a great, I think it was a comic, someone was like asking the mirror like who's the fair, they asked the mirror like who's the fairest of all, and they saw Snow White, and the queen was like, is she like 13? And the mirror was just like, uh-oh, because like like magic mirror, are you a pedophile? But anyway, that's all I got for you guys. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on the website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation on the website, because it does cost a stream and running all that good stuff. So you guys can support. I very much appreciate it. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching live. And to those of you who commented, those of you who watch back and comment and all that stuff does actually really help. So I appreciate it. If you guys can't like leave a super chat or a sticker or donate or something. And I know times are tough, though the price of eggs is going down, but actually just commenting and watching does also help with everything. But you guys also can check out different merch that's available on the website, like the I'm Not the Victim You're Looking For t-shirt, which I actually made after the Gina Carano situation with Disney. It's funny who they're willing to stand by and who they're willing to just totally delete and not, and get rid of or whatever. You guys, I encourage you to also check out different books that I'm working on or I could have published, like my Color of God's Eyes and the sequel to Song of the Devil's Lips is available on Amazon, and I have a bunch of books available, most of them fiction, and I do have some nonfiction, but you guys can check out. There's a link in the description of watching on Facebook or YouTube that'll take you to an Amazon page where you can learn some more about the things that I write. I did mention the other day that most of my work is on Kindle Unlimited, so if you do have that subscription, you guys can actually just read through it that way, and I promise you, as long as you keep turning those pages, I will get paid for them. Just my nonfiction books aren't available through Kindle Unlimited. You actually have to get the ebook or the paperback. God bless you guys. I will see you